Good evening, Ellis County. Kevin Crouch here with Ellis County Weather, and a little bit of a weird situation, a unique situation going on here. We don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings or anything like that, but I know some of you are getting a notification of a high wind warning, and I wanted to go ahead and at least explain what that is and talk about why there may be some very intense winds moving through our area tonight. I didn't want you to get 60 to 70 mile per hour winds and not know why, and wonder if there was severe weather that came through and that you didn't know about. So the first thing I'm going to show you right here, as you see, there are some showers and thunderstorms moving through our area. And if I put this into motion here, you'll see that these storms, historically, these storms have been kind of bubbling up and then going down and then bubbling up and going down. What's happening is we have some outflow from storms to our west, and that is interacting with some instability and some lift in the atmosphere and allowing these storms to bubble up. The problem is there's sinking air, so the energy that's there to bubble these storms up doesn't last very long, and then they get squashed down. You see just south of Italy right now, that's probably the strongest storm we have. And if we take a quick look at something else, we could have some hail, some very small hail between 5 Points and Bardwell there. Really between Forreston and Bardwell, right in the Nash area. But I really don't, other than that, I don't expect any kind of hail issues tonight. We could have had some hail in the 5 Points area, but looks like right around FM 55 there, we could be looking at some hail falling. That's going to be heading over towards 877 and 34, eventually towards the Bardwell area. But that's really pretty much it. Now, this storm moving up towards the Italy area could have some hail with it shortly, because you'd see that it is quickly developing, quickly bubbling up, and we've been watching the echo tops on these and the tops of the clouds, that they will go up and go down and go up and go down, and sometimes when they overachieve and they shoot way up, they're going to take some of that rain with it and freeze it into hailstones. So don't be surprised if there's just some brief, small, pea-sized hail out there, BB-sized hail or something like that. Other than that, I don't expect really to see a whole lot. These storms are loud. They're noisy. I'm hearing reports of, so we've got reports of lightning and thunder in Forreston. It's not a whole lot. But what we're primarily going to be dealing with overnight is the high wind warning. And let me just kind of show you a little bit of what we're talking about. So you see these storms, basically what's left of this, from about Glen Rose on down through Bosque County, down to Gatesville here. These stronger storms, you see this blue box. This is a special weather statement here. But what you see is this outflow boundary. That outflow boundary is from these storms getting squashed and the cool air moving down out of the storm and spreading out. And that is often a sign of storms weakening, and that's exactly what they have done. If we go back several frames here, we'll kind of tell the story of what's happened overnight. And I got a different map here that shows bigger town names, so hopefully that's going to allow for a little bit easier reading. So you can see that these storms, let me zoom in just a little bit here, get some town names there. You can see these storms were quite a bit more strong and intense as they moved in really west of Hamilton. So 281 here was kind of the line. You see when they hit 281, they just get squashed. And so that is what has caused, again, these cool winds, this outflow boundary, to now move across 35, moving through the Waco area right now, heading towards Temple, just moved through Killeen. So all of this activity has left cool winds in their wake. Now here's the thing. As these storms decay, what you're going to see is they're essentially raining themselves out. What goes up must come down, right? So everything that shot up in the atmosphere is going to get pushed downward by gravity and sinking air and those kinds of things. So that's what's going to happen. And when that happens, it's going to hit the ground and spread out. So there's been reports, a report of Fort Worth Meacham Airport got a report of winds of 52 knots. So that's going to be miles per hour wise, that's roughly 60, 70 miles per hour not good with my conversions here. But the National Weather Service, is saying that they're looking at 60 plus mile per hour winds associated with some of these. The National Weather Service, the report here says that the high wind warning has been issued for Tarrant, Dallas, Hood, Johnson, and Ellis counties. Winds are not associated with a current storm, but rather the anvil of storms that dissipated earlier this evening. Winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour will be possible through midnight. This is a short warning, only goes through midnight, so for the next 47, 48 minutes. And again, as you see, some of that energy is causing development here. You look in East Dallas here, then southern parts of Ellis County. Once again, we're seeing these kind of bubbly little storms that go up and down and really aren't doing a whole heck of a lot. But as we see this energy move in, this particular part of the storm, this part of the energy move eastward, we could very well, over the next half hour or so, see some strong winds blow through this area. So don't be alarmed if you have very strong winds that push through your area. You don't have a whole lot of time, but if you want to go out and anchor some things down, this would be a great time to do it. But aside from that, this is going to be a non-storm wind event. Okay, now, there are some storms in our area, and you could get some gusty winds with some of those storms. Like I said, this storm that's moving between Nash and Avalon here, right on kind of the curvy part of 55 here, as that continues on to the east. There could be some gusty winds associated with that storm, but if you don't get a drop of rain tonight and you get crazy winds, that's not terribly unlikely. Okay, so I just wanted to go live to talk about that. Again, this is not we're not looking at a severe weather event tonight, at least not yet. I don't expect to be, because these storms really are not allowed to get very intense, before they're squashed out and they, just kind of don't really do much. So if we look across all of North Texas, I just kind of want to remind you again of what we're looking at. So all of this energy, let's actually look in the Fort Worth area just as an example. So all of this energy, all of these storms got squashed, and then there you go. That's where the very intense winds moved in. And let's actually take a look at velocity here. You can see up in the Fort Worth area some of these lighter yellows, and so there you see some of those winds. And you can actually see back from Toller up to Granbury. You can see a line of strong winds blowing in there. And actually here too, check this out. This is interesting. You can see the outflow boundary here, but what you can see is intense winds there, and then the outflow boundary continues, and then back towards Hamilton, there's some stronger winds building up there. Well, that's some of these decaying storms back towards the Hamilton area. So that's the back end of all of this. So yeah, that's again remnants of these storms that is kicking up all of this wind. So high wind warning is in effect until midnight. This is not usually something you have to be worried about. Basically, be prepared for severe thunderstorm force winds. That's essentially mainly what we're looking at. I don't see anything above 70 miles per hour, so I don't think that we're going to see any major damage. We could see some limbs down. We could see, if you have any items outside that are not secured down, could get blown around and blown away, and it could become your neighbor's yard ornament pretty soon, but not expecting anything catastrophic or anything like that tonight. So I know there's some folks that are just jumping in. This is talking about the high wind warning overnight, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds possible with these, the remnants of these storms as they push through. It's only through midnight, so it's only for about another 45 minutes or so. So not looking at anything major. We look off to the west. There's nothing else out there. Let's take just kind of a broad look here while we have a moment and look at just kind of generally what we're seeing. Of course, we have more storms off between Odessa and Austin there. And then, of course, up in the Midwest, really from northern Arkansas up into Illinois. So, David Hatley, that's a good point. The first time you've seen a high wind warning on the NOAA weather radio. So those weather radios are great to have. And David, I'm glad you have one in the Rice area, because hey, that can be. I'm sure that's an area where it's not entirely, not entirely accessible sometimes with cell service and that sort of thing. So this will be. This is going to include all of Ellis County. Okay, this high wind warning will cover all of Ellis County. The entire area is included in this. Again, it's a pretty broad area. It includes all four of both of the Metroplex counties. I wouldn't really include us in the Metroplex. Dallas sure doesn't. And then Cleburne, Waxahachie, both included. Johnson and Ellis County, included in that as well. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't see some in Hill and Navarro counties as well, but for whatever reason, the National Weather Service in Fort Worth just included Johnson and Ellis counties in that. So that's kind of what we are seeing. We could get some rain. Again, mostly southern Ellis County included in that. Not looking at a whole lot. If we actually look at... let's take a look at the precipitation. If we look back an hour at precip, there's not a whole lot of precipitation. Really, the biggest winners are between Maypearl and 5 Points here. That's going to be where you have the most of your rain. Milford area as well, but really you're going to kind of get one of these quick downpours and then it's out of there. So not expecting a whole lot of substantial rain. Looking like between Rager Springs and Howard here, headed towards the Bardwell area, eventually headed towards Ennis, there's a little bit of heavier rain. But again, it's up and down. Most of this activity south of Italy has already started to weaken. There's a little bit more popping up between Carl's Corner and Milford now, a little bit more towards Mertens and those particular areas. One up in the Rice area, just from Rice and extending over to Chatfield, almost to Montfort there. But not much happening aside from a few showers here and there. So don't expect this to, this isn't going to water your plants very much. This really isn't going to bring any kind of substantial, helpful, anything really. I mean, hey, we'll take all we can get, right? But unfortunately, this is not going to make too big of a difference. I just wanted to make sure that you folks knew if you go outside tomorrow and your yard has been rearranged by some 70-mile-per-hour winds, that you knew why that's happening. So that's all I have for you tonight, and I'm going to do a shameless plug here and say that Faith Family Master Academy in Waxahachie, there at 287 and Ovilla Road, right across Ovilla Road from the Walgreens Distribution Center. I will be setting up a booth there at their festival. It's a community-wide event. Anyone is invited. Lunch is provided as well. So, anyone can be a part of that event. And it's going to be a fun time. I know the fire department's going to be there doing some demonstrations, and I understand there's a Jeep-related demonstration of some sort. I'm not really sure what that means, but face painting and all sorts of fun for the whole family out there. Tomorrow, the winds should be lighter despite this event we're looking at tonight. But we're looking at a day tomorrow when we're going to be in the mid-90s, but the humidity should actually be a little less intense along with the winds. We should be just looking at winds of maybe 5 to 10 miles per hour. So come on out, enjoy the lower humidity and the lower wind for a change, and come on out to, it's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That I will be there, and I hope to see all of you there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just a quick, brief update tonight to talk about that high wind warning. I started getting some questions about it, and so I just wanted to make sure to extend that information here. Make sure you're going to elliscountyweather.com for all the latest forecast information, following on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as well for all the latest